Hello everyone, it is Erika Misha. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. And as you guys can tell by the title of today's video, looking down at my notes, come out from amongst them. How many times have we heard that? Come out from amongst them. Alright, reading my notes. How many times have we heard this? God was talking to me about separating myself from some people in my life that aren't going where God is sending me. God calls us into separation at times. He knows what's best for us, especially for our spiritual growth. A lot of times we are hanging around people that we shouldn't be. We're living for God and they are not. What does light have to do with darkness? And this particular subject is something that God was talking to me about. God was talking to me about separation, and it's not to say, that somebody evil, somebody bad, and God wasn't talking about all that when he was talking to me about this. God was just saying to me that, some people that, that are in my life, he was saying that it's time for separation because they aren't going where God is taking me. And that happens, because the thing about it is, God may cause separation between me and somebody else because I'm not going where God is sending them. So see, this thing can go both ways. It can go both ways. God was just talking to me about my journey, about what he's doing to me in my life. And God was just telling me that he's separating me from people in my life. And we all go through that, in our walk with Christ. God separates us from people, and it's not to, like I said, it's not to say, they this and they that. It's not to say that. And a lot of times we, I must say, there has times when, I've built friendships with people that were not seeking God, weren't trying to get to know God, wasn't reading their Bible, they weren't doing nothing. And our conversations were different. I'm talking about God and they talking about something else. Conversations were different. And that's what God was talking to me about. This is why God was ministering to me about this, because God was saying, what does darkness have to do with light? What? God was like, what? God said, because you can tell by y'all conversations, nothing. You talking about God and they not. But I told God, I said, God, I know what you're talking about. I wasn't even finna sit and pretend like I didn't know what God was talking about. God, what you talking about? Who are you talking about? No, I didn't even pretend. I didn't even pretend that I didn't know who he was talking about. Because sometimes I'll do that. Be like, what, God? Who are you talking about? Yeah. Definitely. I was like, you know what, God? I'm not even going to play with you. I said, God, I know exactly who you're talking about. And that happens, over the years of my life living for Christ. There have been times where God has separated me from people, And God knows best. God knows best. Come out from amongst them. Is what God was saying to me. Come out. God said, separate yourself. And I'm sure this won't be the last time, God is gonna cause me to separate myself. Because what happens is it begins to be a pull and a tug, like a tug of war. They're pulling this way, I'm pulling that way, and you know how it is a tug of war. Both sides keep pulling until somebody wins. And I live for Christ, so the only way I'm going. But a lot of times we can get caught up in situations and get caught up with people and hanging with people, that aren't even trying to know God, not trying to seek God, not trying to read their word, not trying to get closer to God, not trying to give their life to Christ. None of that. Just none of that. Don't talk about it, don't think about it. So yeah. What does light have to do with darkness? Like what? Yeah, it's Bible. But yeah, that's what God was talking to me about, guys. We have to allow God to make those decisions in our lives, because we can be talking to someone, whether that's a friendship, family member, relationship, whatever it is. We can be talking to someone, friends with someone, and God is like, yeah, no, it's a no for that. It's a no. And God's like, nah, it's a no. It's a no for me. And a lot of times we'd be like, but God, I know I'd be like, God, but, and he's like, no. And I said, but God, and he said, no. And I said, he said, no, it's still a no. It's still a no, girl. And, isn't it funny how sometimes we find ourselves trying to convince God that it's good for certain people to be in our lives? We be trying to convince God, and God's like, you're not going to convince me. God said, I see the future. I know this is a no. Come out from amongst them. Because we don't want to tempt ourselves to do something that's not of God. We don't want to tempt ourselves to get pulled back into the world. We don't want to tempt ourselves to do that. Don't even tempt yourself with it. And I understand what God means, because God said, yeah, don't even tempt yourself. Don't even. I said, I hear you, God. That's what God wanted me to come and talk to you about today. Come out from amongst them. We've all heard it before, and this can mean a lot of things. You trying to live right, you trying to do the right thing, and sometimes you gotta separate yourself from people who are not trying to do that, because they can pull you to do stuff that's not right, that's not in the will of God. Come on now, we all know right from wrong. That's what God wanted me to come and talk about today. This is Arika Misha. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. Don't forget to go in the description box, click on that link to my second channel. Over there, I'm doing hair, makeup, nails, DIYs, grocery hauls, family vlogs. I do CVS, Walgreens deals. I do all kind of stuff over there, guys. I'm just doing it, just sharing my life. It may help someone. Alright, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate your time, and I appreciate your love and support. Thanks, guys. God bless. Bye.